the second episode of the 411. My name's Chris Young.
I'm Marcus Painter.
Michelle Eaton.
Eddie Small.
And Diana Gill.
So, in the first episode, we talked about some Girl Scout cookies. We had a singing contest, and of course, being an EdTech podcast, we talked about HyperDocs, and it was really awesome. Today, we're going to do a little bit more music stuff. We're going to talk about student voice and choice, and then we're going to cap it off with some pizza talk. So, let's get going. Michelle, we're going to start off with a little fun. So, Michelle, you ended singing some Spice Girls. Today, we're going to talk about misheard song lyrics. So, Michelle, you were last. Now you're first.
This is so embarrassing. Okay, so we all have like songs that for the longest time we misheard the lyrics. Mine was originating around, I don't know, like fourth grade. And the song Ghetto Superstar, I have always heard incorrectly. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that what the actual lyrics were. So what I'm going to do, I am going to turn a voice filter on because I like our viewers and I want them to enjoy themselves. So they're not going to listen to my real voice. I'm going to put a voice filter on. I'm going to sing part of this song, and then you guys need to tell me what the actual line is, and then I'll admit to what I've always thought it was. So...
we're moving into helium voice. Okay, so the lyrics go, ghetto superstar, that is what you are, coming from afar. What's the line?
Reaching for the stars. Come away with me.
To another place. You guys are all wrong. All wrong. It is playing tetherball. That's the next line. I, as an 11-year-old at summer camp, playing tetherball, I thought this song was my anthem, and I still sing it like that to this day.
Can you sing it with your lyric, please?
Oh yeah, this is fun.
Helium voice on, ghetto superstar, that is what you are, coming from afar, playing tetherball. It works.
Okay, I got one. So, you guys probably recognize this song. I'll just play it for you. What's the lyric?
It's the climb.
I've never heard this song in my life.
Here we go. It's declined. She's talking about her credit card. She was going on a trip. This song is about going on a trip, and you get up, swipe your card, declined, declined, declined. It's declined. Come on, guys. Pay attention. Miley Cyrus. Bad credit cards.
I kind of like that better.
All right, I'm going to pop in. What Eddie didn't tell you, though, is he was a radio DJ in his former life, and he was Eddie James, and he really thought it was declined on the radio. So, all right, mine's a little bit of an older song. My dad played music, and again, so I'm going to sing it. I'm not going to go chipmunk like Michelle, so bear with me if it's terrible, and I don't even know all the lyrics. I'm going to go a cappella with you. All right, here we go. I see... dun, 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 dun. I see bad times today. Don't go around tonight. It's bound to take your life. There's a
Bad moon on the rise.
bad moon on the rise.
What did I just witness?
Well, Michelle, you were 12 when your song came out, or not, like 7 when your song came out, and I was like older, so you probably don't know. But no, you're all wrong. When have you seen a bad moon on the rise? What even is that? So here's how it should go. Don't go around tonight. It's bound to take your life. There's a bathroom on the right. Think about it. You're always looking for a bathroom. Well, you got to go really bad. And the bathroom's on the right. So that's how that song goes. Marcus, take us home.
I'm not sure how finding the bathroom could be life-changing, but it's a stretch, Chris.
Time out. Creedence Clearwater Revival is singing about locating bathrooms. That's what you're telling us. That's a hard no. Is it me or is it Diana next?
All right, so my example is a little bit different. So a lot of times, like when I'm in the car, my kids are listening to popular music on the radio, and it's really funny when they mishear song lyrics that are really obvious to me. So I have a song for you that my kids have messed up like so many times. So I'm gonna play it for you, and I want you to think like you are a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old, and imagine what they hear when they listen to the song on the radio. And no judging, okay? I don't let my kids listen to crazy stuff, okay? Here we go. Are you ready for it? All right, baby, let
The games begin.
I don't know, but I've been dancing all up in here.
Okay, next time I'm not doing Taylor Swift because I don't want that to be my big reputation. Sorry, I had to. So my kids sing, "Let the Nuggets begin, the Nuggets begin." They think it's about chicken nuggets, which I'm all for.
Let the Nuggets begin. That works. That works.
So we can't find bathrooms, but Taylor Swift is singing about nuggets. Got it.
All right. So my misheard lyric comes from being a kid. This is an oldie. I don't know why. This was on the radio. I don't know why my cousin and I were listening to a channel that was playing the oldies, but I remember vividly my cousin and I playing Mario and singing to this song. So I'm going to let it play, and then you tell me the lyric.
Before the day I met you, life was so unkind. You're the key to my peace of mind. But you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman.
Natural woman.
Yes, that is the correct lyric. Unfortunately, my cousin and I went with this. You make me feel like a man or a woman. Woman! That took a turn. Took a big turn.
I think that's our cue to move on to the more appropriate version of the 411, which is educational topics. And so today we're going to talk about student voice and choice, which are hot topics. So who wants to start?
You know, this conversation, right? We were talking about this a while ago, and it just kind of stemmed from our experiences in school. And I can say that as far as student choice goes, I think it really depends on the type of classroom you have. Coming from a project-based learning environment where almost everything we did was based on projects and rubrics and things that the kids were actually doing hands-on, that student choice was a big part of allowing those kids to be creative and do things in my classroom. So I'm a big proponent of it. I love it. I think it really changed the way I taught. When I first started teaching, I tended not to give students voice or choice. And I learned as time went on, giving them a little bit of rope wasn't a bad thing. So I'm always going to be on the side of more student choice, more student voice, bringing them into the process so that they can create some really cool stuff.
I was the same as Eddie. At the beginning, I was kind of a control freak. I taught secondary English for 15 years, so we did research, and I know Diana's going to chime in here soon on this. When we did research, it ended up being the worst thing, and I didn't want it to be the thing that kids loathed in class, like, oh, research. I don't mind that they are bummed out by all the work, but I want them to own the topic. And so at first I dictated topics, and then I got a little bit wiser and I started providing lists, and that to me was choice. And then I finally got to this point where some of you guys might be familiar with the iSearch research project. I did that for a while, and then I finally got to the point where they were basically pitching proposals to me. So they were choosing topics, and we were building the topic organically from scratch together. So we were having a meeting, and it was they were pitching ideas to me, and then I was helping them flesh those out. And once I finally figured that out, it changed research in my English classes, because it made it something they owned, and it was something they cared about, and the products were better.
I think so much of this has to do with knowing who our students are today. I think we all understand that the need to teach today's students differently than when we were in school, but that we know that also doesn't happen. And this was presented, I saw this at a presentation once, and this really resonated with me. The reason why I think personalization is so important. Think about when you were in school. And I know you guys all joke that I'm the youngest one, but I experienced this too. In a classroom, the teacher was a single agent of knowledge. I relied on that teacher to provide content to me, or the Encyclopedia Britannicas on the shelf along the wall. I needed that teacher to give me the content. But now that's not the case. And a good comparison that I like to share, I didn't come up with this, is that when I was that age too, let's think about watching TV. We had one TV in the house, and we would all watch the same show, and we had to, at 7 o'clock, if the show was on, like, we all had to be sitting at the TV at 7, and we all had to kind of agree on what we were going to watch as a whole family. Watching TV today is nothing like that. If you have kids with devices, they have Netflix, they have Hulu, they can watch things on demand, they can record. Not everybody has to be watching the same thing, and it doesn't have to be at a specific time. And I think that same shift is happening in education. Students have access to the content coming at them from all kinds of directions, and they don't need to be sitting at a specific time getting that content that's being spoon-fed to them from the teacher. And so our instruction has to shift. And I think that's why it's more important than ever that we start really thinking about what personalization looks like in a classroom, and specifically what it looks like when it's most effective.
With this topic, I really think it can be broken down into a number of subtopics. It's kind of hard to talk about because really, we're talking about so many things. We're talking about personalization. We're talking about options. We're talking about the difference between student options and student choice. And we're also talking about voice. So, this could probably be 5 different topics. Going back to what Marcus was saying, when you're adding student options and student choice into the mix, you really let that impact instruction, like Michelle said. So, with the research paper example, if you give students a list of options and they decide before they ever enter the process of research that they're going to write about this topic, then you're not letting the research itself guide what that product looks like, and that's not teaching strong informational literacy skills. So making that shift from, hey, I'm going to give you a list of options to choose from, to, I'm not going to tell you what to write about. Let's start researching, and let's let the research guide you to that, help shift the instruction. And that's a really good example of, the difference between options versus student choice.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. One of the things that I would say that, the student choice is such a buzzword, and oftentimes in the classroom, how it's actually done is it's like, do you want to do this one or this one? And so the student goes, I want to do this one. Well, that is not choice in the sense that Marcus talks about, which is why I think student voice, honestly, is the most important thing, because I think choice becomes a byproduct when student voice is given the priority. And so with my Google Innovator project, one of the first sort of iterations of that student engagement was a huge piece, and student voice was something that I really considered. So hold on, I'm going to share a photo to share kind of something I've created, and we can put a link to this down below if there's someone that wants to use it. But it allows students to have a voice in the classroom, and it's really easy. So it's not real like groundbreaking, but I used Plickers, and I basically created a custom PDF that when you print it double-sided, there would be emojis on the back, and the student can kind of basically at any given time in the lesson kind of deliver their feelings, and so the teacher will get instant feedback on how things are going, and that should dictate not only that lesson but future lessons to make sure you're designing and you're teaching in a way that students are heard. I think we focus so much on student test scores and data rather than like the social emotional needs of students, and so I'm a huge proponent of student voice. And like I said, student choice becomes a byproduct from that.
Well, I'm glad that you made the distinction between choice. I think choice is the thing that is maybe easiest to wrap our heads around when it comes to personalization. And we may not give enough time and thought to voice. But I want to share some interesting research that I learned here recently with some of our teachers. I've been doing some personalized professional learning using individualized learning plans for our virtual school staff. And the first time around, it was super open-ended. The choices were just, it was the wild, wild west. Teachers could choose anything from online courses that I designed or we designed, Twitter chats, book studies, face-to-face meetings, small group, all kinds of things. And I got them together, and then they got to, make the path. And I thought overall it was pretty positive. We didn't see a big uptick in participation, but I heard some generally positive things about it. Got them together to really take a hard look at it. And one of the teachers shared some interesting research with me about choice. And that is that this is a consumer research piece that I think is interesting and applies, but that if you go to the store and you are looking for something and you only have one option, there are no options, there are no choices, there's one thing, you're predisposed subconsciously to hate that one option. Even if it's a great item to buy. Even if you would normally like it, you're more likely to dislike it. And then on the other side, so that's why choice is good. Choice in stores is good. Choice in all kinds of aspects of our life is good. However, on the other side, if you go to a store and there are too many choices, you can be kind of paralyzed by that and unable to make decisions. And a teacher shared that with me, and it aligned so well with some of the feedback about feeling overwhelmed by the number of choices. And so when you are thinking about providing choices, I think there's probably an argument that there is a sweet spot between no choice and too many choices. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that.
I absolutely think that is the thing. It's kind of like when, in science, if I were to give a lab that had too many steps, that the students would almost get overwhelmed. And so, we would chunk it into smaller parts just so it would be easier to handle. I think when I go to, recently I went on trip and I, at the airport, was trying to buy snacks, and there were just so many options that I ended up with nothing. So if I, as an adult, have trouble with too many choices, I think that's a huge issue for our students, which leads me to actually a question for you all. Diana and Marcus, you guys talking about, how you let the students kind of create their own research, and it just changed your classes. I don't know if, at least for me, there's an elephant in the room. And when I think of like early primary or even just elementary students in general, I have a first grader. My son's in first grade. And I honestly think if I said, hey, buddy, you can learn about what you want to learn about, like, I don't know that anything would ever get accomplished. So what does choice look like in an elementary classroom? I still think it's important, but how do you do it? Because I think it has to be different, at least in my mind, and I could be totally wrong. So, but how's it in an elementary classroom?
You know, Chris, I'm not even sure that's specific to elementary because, and I don't know if like other secondary teachers would agree, but you know, a lot of times I was trying to give my students voice and choice, and I would assign something and give lots of options. And then one of the options would be, or anything approved by Mrs. Gill. And I was always like hopeful that a student would go for that and, you know, go nuts and create anything that they wanted to create to show their learning. But no one, like, rarely, if ever, did anyone ever take advantage of that. Like, do whatever you want with approval. And I think, you know, that was on me. Like, they saw some options, and they naturally gravitated towards some of the options that I already gave them. And I wasn't doing a good job fostering them towards that last one where they got to pick whatever they wanted. So I'm not sure if that's only a concern in elementary. I think that applies to all students.
And that's where I think, you know, crafting good, guiding, leading questions, we as the teachers kind of know what a good end point, a good outcome might look like. So I think that's where it falls on us as the teachers to guide and lead them a little bit, give them some scaffolding, give them some structure. Because yes, complete freedom is absolutely overwhelming to a lot of students, regardless of age. That's absolutely overwhelming to a lot of adults. So that's where the responsibility falls on us.
Well, as the resident primary person in the group, I don't know that I have all the answers, to be honest. I think that I am learning more and more about personalization in my current role. But I do think that there is a big responsibility for primary teachers, because the problem with voice and choice with secondary students, and what I hear often from high school teachers, is that by this point, students have learned the game of school. They want the path of least resistance. They've figured out how to do things the traditional way. And when we shake things up, it's intimidating. And so I do think that this foundation, learning how to advocate for yourself as a learner, is something that has to be taught with our youngest learners. And I think a lot of that, especially where I've seen it really successful with elementary, has everything to do with not just randomly or arbitrarily picking from these 3 different activities. While that is a quick and easy way, I think, to make a boring assignment a little less boring, I think ultimately it needs to come back to student reflection about their learning, students understanding where they are in terms of mastery, and then making decisions based on that. So one example that I see in one of the elementary classes in my district that I think this teacher does such a great job, her name is Amanda Moore, at Teach for the Win on Twitter. You should definitely check her out. She does a lot with blended learning and gamification, and students making decisions about what they're going to work on and why. We've talked recently about entry tickets. So instead of exit tickets at the end of a lesson, coming into a class period, demonstrating what you know so far on an entry ticket, the teacher and the students going through the answers, the responses, and then the students taking a look at how they did and making a decision about what they needed to work on, whether it was small group with the teacher, whether it was this online lesson to go through the material again, or whether it was an enrichment activity that they're working on. And so what I think that's so great is that this can happen with elementary students, and it's awesome to see young kids talking about their learning and the choices that they're making, and it being meaningful choices that are pushing them as learners and helping them reach mastery. And I think that conversation can happen with kindergartners, and it can happen with seniors. But I think that for me is the biggest distinction, like why we're making choices, and it's not just a choice board.
This topic is huge, and I don't know about a lot of you guys, but I mean, as soon as we get into this topic, I want to talk secondary, and we've got some primary people, and I really think it can be an hour-long podcast. But since we know we don't want to go that long, I'm sure we've got a lot of other stuff to get into, but I just, project-based learning is something that I have a passion for, and I believe you can't do that without student choice at the secondary level. And I hope we do get a chance to revisit, because like I said, I've got a lot of things, and every time we get together, I soak all this knowledge up like a sponge. So it's awesome just to kind of sit back and listen every once in a while, but I do hope we revisit, in future episodes.
So let's segue to the final part, where we talk food, or it doesn't have to be food, but it just so happens the first two podcasts are. But one thing I want to point out is, we don't have all the answers with student voice and choice. And, so if you are a teacher and you're listening and, you agree or disagree, feel free to comment. I want to give a huge shout out to Sean Fahey and Nadine Gillickson, who really chimed in and gave a lot of great information and resources on HyperDocs. And so, feel free to connect with us on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. So let's talk pizza. We've got some people from the region here, Northwest Indiana, so I have a feeling there may be some Chicago love. What's the best pizza?
Did someone say pizza?
All right, I'm going to jump in here on the pizza conversation. I'll preface it by saying that pizza is my absolute favorite food. When you do that thing where it's like, if you could only have one food for the rest of your life, it's pizza. It's always pizza. Now, I don't know what we're going to be talking about specifically. I mean, we can talk deep dish versus thin crust, hand toss. We can talk places. We can talk regions. I don't even know where to begin. So I'm just going to name some places. Griggs Pizza. Big at Ball State. Just came to West Lafayette about a year ago. Love it. I'm a big fan of Aurelio's. That's a region thing. Y'all know about the region? Aurelio's, LaPorte, all the way over to Hammond. Let's hear what you got.
Okay. Now, I know you probably aren't making any special trips to a little town that I call Rushville, Indiana. But let's just say that all Pizza Kings are not created equally. I'm sorry, because I know a lot of people have some very proud feelings about their Pizza King. But there is no other Pizza King that I have ever been to that has lived up to my hometown Pizza King. The Pizza King in Rushville, Indiana, and you go to the downtown one, Downtown Pizza King, is just, it's miles ahead of every other Pizza King in the state. I'm letting you know. And no endorsement here. We are not getting paid to say these things. I cannot live without Downtown Rushville Pizza King at least once a month in my life.
All right, here's the thing about the Pizza King. Pizza King's big here in Northwest Indiana as well. I gotta come to downtown Rushville, the Mecca. I gotta come down there and check this out, because I kind of am not a fan of Pizza King up here. It doesn't really hit the sweet spot for me. So I gotta see what's so special about Rushville.
Okay, so I don't have loyalties to specific pizza chains or restaurants, but I do have a really weird pizza order that is kind of embarrassing to order in public, or it turns out even on the phone. So I am vegetarian, not vegan. I can eat cheese, but I just don't generally like a lot of cheese on my pizza. And as a matter of fact, my favorite pizza is a thin crust cheese pizza, extra sauce, no cheese. That's it. It's my favorite. I like what I like. I recently was on a pizza app trying to order a pizza, and I ordered my favorite, and a little bit later I get a call, and the poor guy at the store was like, "Are you sure this is what you want?" And I'm like, yeah, it's 100% exactly what I want. A few more minutes later, I get another call, and he's like, "I've burned this pizza twice already. I don't know how to cook it without cheese. I think you should just get something on it." So I'm a weird pizza eater. I am definitely not a connoisseur.
Wait, okay. You order a pizza with no cheese? Like none. 0 cheese. Not even a sprinkle of cheese? Just like tomato sauce and crust? No. I am not about that life.
Okay, Michelle, that's actually not that weird to me. My husband has what I would call a cheese phobia, and when we order pizza for the family, the kids and I get our pizza, usually ham and pineapple. And my husband gets pizza with like lots of meat things and no cheese. And usually no one really questions him, like it's sort of normal. At least they've heard it before because they don't look at us like we're crazy.
So, I have a weird pizza combination. It's kind of weird, but so first off, you have to like mushrooms to like this. But people are always like, "That's weird," and then we order it, and it's always the first pizza gone. Maybe it's because I chow down like crazy. But mushroom and bacon on pizza is a beautiful combination. But I think you guys were naming all your fancy places. The best pizza in the world. There is a bakery. I assume it's Totino's. I think it's very Italian. Party pizza. My kids and I agree it is the best pizza. Go home with all your Pizza King and all that other stuff. Giordano, wherever. Totino's. Party pizza.
All right, so there's a place in my hometown in Valparaiso that was voted the best pizza in Indiana by Food Network and top 5 food trucks in the entire United States. It's called the Rolling Stone Baker. It's brick oven. They have lots of interesting stuff. And I'm going to read to you what this week's special pizza is from Rolling Stone Baker. It's called the High Roller Big Baller Pizza. It's topped with yuzu mayo, lobster, caviar, and microgreens. Yum.
Can we talk about how they changed the party pizza? It used to be round and in a box. It felt a little bit more higher quality than the now plastic-wrapped square party pizza. I mean, come on, guys. You're not hiding anything. It's a cheap pizza. Just give it to me the way I like it, in a cardboard box with a little cardboard plate underneath.
Yeah, the shit changed, but man, like I'm talking about 99-cent frozen pizza, and Diana's over here with like pinkies up with caviar and lobster pizza. I would like to try it though.
Can we all agree that we're just hungry now, though? Regardless of the kind of pizza? Because let me tell you about the worst pizza I ever had. It was amazing.
That's true. I've never met a pizza I didn't like.
So I think that concludes it. We're hungry, so we're out. It's a wrap. That's episode 2.
And that's the 411.